Coming up on the Racing Insiders on this special Thanksgiving edition, we look at background, deep background on what happened after 2 rounds of testing in the United Sports Car Championship. We have John DeGee, Sports Car 365, giving us the latest stuff you'll never hear anywhere else. And training video, the Audi team, DTM champions, World Endurance champions, what they're doing to get ready for 2014. And are you kidding me? What's going on in our minds? We've got a guy who won Le Mans who's got a 24-hour slot car record coming up next on the Racing Insiders. Welcome back to another edition of the Racing Insiders, and happy Thanksgiving to our viewers in North America. The rest of you, enjoy the good holiday season as it starts up right now. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Jeff Lepper is in Folsom, California. Jeff, happy Thanksgiving to you, partner.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Bill. Thank you so much. Have you had your dinner yet? I'm sitting here smelling mine. I can't wait to eat.
That's always the opening of the holiday season. We talk about the opening of the racing season, smelling turkey and dressing and all the trimmings. That's the opening of the holiday season. The rest of you in the UK and in New Zealand, maybe you don't know about that, but for us, this is a special season. But let's get right to the United Sports Car Championship. We've got John DeGee, Sports Car 365, who's going to join us. We've had 2 rounds of testing, learned a lot. Learned an awful lot. In fact, that some of the cars that had problems were told not to go back on the track anymore. John, what's happened since that session in Daytona?
Well, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of negotiation, a lot of meetings going on behind the doors at IMSA and Continental Tire and other parties right now, because there's a lot of question marks surrounding what happened to these Daytona prototypes in that test at Daytona. Obviously, we saw Richard Westbrook have a massive accident in the first day at Daytona. A suspected right rear tire failure sent the car backwards up into the air, almost over the catch fence, and barrel rolling, landed and rolled multiple times before coming to rest. And then later that day, Joao Barbosa in the Action Express Corvette had a similar accident, but luckily he didn't go completely over. So, they ended up parking all of the Daytona prototypes, all of the PC cars, and all of the DPs and the P2s as well the following day, because they weren't really sure what caused the tire failures. And now it's a case of Continental working with IMSA and everybody else and trying to come to the bottom of the solution. To try to find a solution before the next testing begins, private testing later this month, and even heading into the Roar before the 24 in January.
And John, I have some very deep friends at Continental, but I have to wonder why Continental, they admitted to bringing the same tire to these tests with a car that has more power and more downforce. You have to wonder about the thinking on that.
Well, I think they were going with what they had, what was tried and trusted. Obviously Daytona is a very unique racetrack in terms of tire development, and we've seen the same thing at Indianapolis with, it's a big challenge for tire manufacturers to actually make a perfect tire and then compound in construction. And this tire worked successfully for Continental for the last 2 years at Daytona, no problems at all. And I think that they were just going there to see what they can achieve with that. It's a DPI tire, which got rebranded as a P1000 for 2014. And we've seen other tire manufacturers have issues at Daytona as well. Pirelli, the most recent tire partner for Grand Am before Continental, they had a series of blowouts as well. So I think we can be quick to blame the tires, but I think there's more issues surrounding this right now as well.
Hey, John, I've said all along that I personally don't think the matchup between a DP car and a P2 car is going to work. With all the problems now, has there been any talk about maybe splitting those classes back up and slowing the DP cars back down?
I haven't heard anything in regards to that just yet, but there's obviously been a lot of talk about that. P2s struggled big time at Daytona. It was actually the opposite problem they had of the DPs. The DPs had high tire temperatures, particularly on the right side of the car. The P2s, meanwhile, didn't have hardly any tire temperature on all 4 corners of the car. They couldn't get any heat in the tires because there wasn't as much load. The cars aren't as heavy as the DPs. So, Extreme Speed Motorsports is really the only benchmark there. There was only two P2s, them and the Libra Radical Ford, and Libra has been a hit or miss entry over the years in the ALMS. So lap time wise, I think the ESM was about 3 or 4 seconds off the pace, which is a considerable amount right now. So we'll have to see what happens. I was speaking to a lot of the ESM guys during the test, and they were pretty discouraged. They were going to try a larger restrictor on the second day, but ultimately never got that opportunity when the series decided to park all the prototypes.
John DeGee, Sports Car 365. You and I shared some quick emails this week. I saw some images on your website that kind of reminded me of maybe a problem with the new aero devices, the new wing and the new diffuser, and how it just appeared to me, I'm not a race engineer, but it appeared to me that when the car gets turned around after a spin or something at high speed, that it's likely to get airborne because it looks like it was just ready for liftoff. Is any of this being investigated?
Yeah, and that's another part that's being investigated as well, as you point out. I think that's the most concerning factor right now we have, is that these cars are taking off and catching air. And anytime that happens, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's sports cars within like LMP1 cars we've seen at Le Mans, Indy cars, etc., it always ends bad. And that's actually, something that IMSA has to look at right now. I know I spoke with Scott Elkins the day after the incidents, and he said they were on the phone all the night before, talking with aerodynamicists and the engineering firms they've contracted to help with this new aero kit. They're not absolutely sure it's due to the new parts on the car. It could just be a combination of the two, or maybe just unrelated altogether. But I think it's something that they have to get sorted out before we put more lives at risk when these guys go back out there for further testing and the race itself.
John, give me some impressions of, you were there, you heard the cars, you heard the drivers. What was it like?
It was pretty interesting. A lot of the focus was obviously on the DP and the P2 integration and how those cars are going to balance out. But we saw a lot of GT cars as well, not just GT Le Mans cars, but also GT Daytona. There were close to 20 cars at the Daytona test alone, and that brought up a lot of questions of who's going to get an entry, who isn't. And I know we spoke about this on a previous episode, of the car caps and everything, but I think that brought out more questions than not. Another thing that was a big topic was just the pure speeds. The GT Le Mans cars were really close to the DP and the P2s at Daytona. The GT Daytonas were not that far off either. So I think IMSA is going to have a good look at how to separate the different classes and make sure that everybody has a good separation in speeds, because everybody all clumped together, especially at a place like Daytona, is going to cause a lot of havoc.
Looking at the GT classes, the growth has been amazing in those classes. They did limit the entries, which I think is more of a marketing thing. Are they really going to turn down GT teams this year to race?
Well, there's a physical capacity for some tracks we'll be going to. Like Daytona has a capacity of 60. Sebring has a capacity of 63. I think the Watkins Glen might be about the same. And there's other tracks with obviously a lot less. And that all comes down to pit lane capacity. They don't want to be double pitting a lot of these cars for safety reasons. So IMSA already laid out how many cars can be at each venue, and I think they're going to have to go according to that. Obviously Daytona is going to have close to 70, 80 entries, I'm sure. Whether they all get a spot, I'm pretty sure they won't. I think we'll see the capacity right down to 60, and it's a case of a lot of GT Daytona teams might be getting turned away. Other classes as well. We're not really sure on the exact makeup of the prototype category. I think there's 18 or 19 that were allocated for Daytona. My count is there might only be about 14 or 15 full season entries at best. So there might be a couple entries there to give the GT Daytona. There might be a couple entries from GT Le Mans, which was capped at 12 provisionally. I think might only be 10 or 11 at Daytona. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to see some changes in the car capacity guidelines. And unfortunately, there's about 25, 26 GT Daytona cars by my count that are actually prepared to run full seasons. And I don't think they're all going to get a space.
John, I'm going to ask you a question. You're a journalist. You've covered sports car racing all over the world. You've been in paddocks from one hemisphere to the other. going to ask you to put on an analyst hat right now. Can this work? Will this be painful making it work this year in the United Sports Car Championship?
It's going to be a challenging year for sure, and I think that was exemplified by this test this past week. You know, with seeing the accidents and obviously looking at the speed differentials between the P2 and the DP cars. I think everybody knew it was going to be hard, but I think it's starting to become a little more of a reality now that everybody's on track and testing and really seeing it for the first time. IMSA has a huge road ahead of themselves, and we could always just hope that they're going to do the best job they can for 2014. I think what we really have to look forward to is 2015, 2016, and beyond, when all the rules and regulations are nailed down and potentially a new class of prototypes are introduced in America. And I think that'll really set the bar to the next level in sports car racing in North America.
It's amazing. You're still 2 months away before the Rolex 24 or the Daytona 24 hours. A lot of testing is due to happen. Still got the holidays in there. A lot has to go on in the next 60, 70 days. John DeGeese, thank you. It's a lot of meat to chew on, but it's eating time. It's the eating holidays. John, thanks.
Well, thanks for having me on.
We look at the winter testing, the drivers that the World Endurance Championship, DTM champions at Audi, what are they going to be doing in the offseason? How are they going to get ready for 2014? We'll look at that when the Racing Insiders comes back.
This segment of the Racing Insiders was brought to you by GoRacingTV.com, for racers by racers. Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Go on a high-speed ride with the Racing Insiders, the world's only weekly look at sports car racing. The biggest names, the biggest events, the biggest headlines, every week on the Racing Insiders. From a modest start, the Racing Insiders has grown into a global presence through passion, hard work, aggressive drive, an award-winning host, and the greatest minds in sports car racing. Now, the Racing Insiders is expanding, and you can get on board. Take part in our funding effort at Indiegogo. Valuable rewards from our partners are there for your support at Indiegogo.com. The Racing Insiders. Consider an investment in exclusive sports car racing excitement every week. Get behind the wheel, drive exclusive racing content you want and can't find anywhere else. The Racing Insiders. Make an investment in your passion.
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders. We're looking right now at the Audi team getting ready for the off-season training. Their training goes on year-round. Jeff, it looks like they're doing something that we're going to be doing, getting rid of some of this off-season meals, especially today after Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, thanks. Especially after the dinner that my wife and my mom made, I'll be doing a lot of exercising after today.
Spinning. I used to love to ride out in the open air, but spinning is a way to get ready, and it's some team building. There's another form of team building that the Audi they do in the Audi Motorsports, and it works. They won the World Endurance Championship and the DTM title this year. Let's look at their winter camp.
Willkommen bei Audi. Allez, c'est parti pour la saison. Nus campus. Nós queremos ganhar. Andiamo. Welcome to Audi Sport.
Scotland, France, Austria, Brazil, Italy, Sweden, Germany, Spain, Denmark, Portugal and Switzerland. 11 nationalities, one team. At the annual Audi Winter Camp in Allgäu, the whole team commits itself to the coming motorsport season.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Everybody's together. It's quite a team-building story. So I'm pretty happy to meet everyone and to get to know everyone a bit better than what I was knowing them last year. And in the end, it's also a good time for preparation.
As they stretch, they focus as a group on themselves. And preparation is everything, primarily mental preparation, as they're all super fit already. They get to know each other better, with DTM and sports car drivers exchanging views and ideas. Learning from each other and from him, motorsport boss Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich. The main focus is on being together as much as possible, on understanding the others as much as possible, and on getting to know the others even better, because I'm convinced that it's very, very important. If you want to be strong as a team, then you also need to know a fair bit about your team partners. And new to the team are Jamie Green in the DTM and Lucas Di Grassi in the WEC.
This week for sure will be something that I will keep as a memory, keep as a motivation for the whole rest of the year.
A week full of friendship and togetherness, combined with stamina and reaction training. In the Six Cup game, you need speed, skill and luck, just like in motor racing in fact. In the competitive spinning, their desire to win is immediately aroused. Everyone gives it their all.
We are here to build something all together out of a track and to have some competition, but not important one, some fun, and that's the most important. And the atmosphere here is always great, and we can build something really strong.
Batteries recharged, team spirit and motivation back at their peak. All ready to go for the motorsport season 2013.
Jeff, that's a lot of work. Those scenes were beautiful out in the snow and the cross-country skiing. What did you do when you were racing? What did you do to get ready for the new season?
Yeah, being pretty fortunate living in Northern California, the weather's really good, so pretty much year-round you can go race. I would always take my shifter cart up to Sonoma Raceway on the go-kart track up there. Tuesday, Wednesday, open testing, $25, run all you want till your arms fall off. Obviously, you want to do a lot of racing in seat time, but you don't want to do something that's going to jeopardize your career. Don't be Robert Kubica and go out in a rally car and have a guardrail come through the car and end your Formula One career. But, you know, all joking aside, I did a lot of cardio, a lot of exercise bike, and then basically run my go-kart till my arms fall off.
So it sounds like a lot of aerobic. Did you do weight training?
No, never. That's why I got these puny little arms. You just do enough to make sure you can hold onto the steering wheel for the whole race.
Are you kidding me?
I want to go to Hamburg, Germany right now. My Are You Kidding Me this week is Frank Biela, a 5-time winner at Le Mans. He's now a 5-time straight, 5 times in succession in a row, winner of the Hamburg 24-hour slot car race. It's amazing. These guys is actually a 4-man team. They get together and race slot cars for 24 hours, and Frank has won it 5 times in a row. This is one of the best drivers in the world. I can imagine that the reaction time and everything helps him. If you could win Le Mans 5 times, you could win a slot car race 5 times in a row. At least you would think so. Jeff, I understand you do some slot car racing.
Yeah, at Eddie's Slot Car World in Vallejo, California. We got 2 road course tracks there. The Blue King, that's 145 foot long. In my open wing car, I can do about 1.7 seconds, and it's about 9 turns on that road course. We have a flat track that's kind of the Nürburgring of courses, a 65-foot drag strip there. We do drag racing every Wednesday night, and some of those drag cars are pretty quick. The AA funny cars that I have will go less than half a second over 65 foot at about 120 to 130 miles an hour. And if you do the scale, that's quite a bit.
Wow, are you kidding me? I'm talking to a guy who could probably compete with Frank Biela. That's an amazing story. Can you relate to what he's talking about?
Yeah, at APR Motorsports, Josh Hurley drove the Volkswagens there, and he says he brought a lot of the stuff that he learned, because the first racing he did was slot cars, into go-karts. Now, mind you, you drive a slot car with your finger, and we make fun of these little home sets that you have that you get for Christmas, and you play around all the time, and you use it once and put it in a box and stick it in the closet. But I think it's more the reaction time, the focus that it takes with your finger, because you actually have to drive those cars, and I think it's really more on the reactions that drivers get now, from all the way from slot cars to sports cars.
Wow, are you kidding me? I've got some buddies who are into RC cars, but slot cars, a whole nother world. On the calendar this week, the World Endurance Championship is in Bahrain. That's the final event of the year. Kind of a coronation party for Audi. We know the Audi team won the Drivers' Championship and the Manufacturers' Championship already. And the final event in the Canadian Rally Championship, the Tall Pines Rally, that's going on this weekend, and you'll get a chance to learn if Antoine Lestage will get his 6th Rally Championship in Canada. He's already won the North American title. You see if we'll get his 6th Rally Championship in North America. Jeff, what's going on with you?
I'm going to be recovering from Thanksgiving Day dinner. I'm just going to lay in bed for a solid 5 days.
There's nothing better than cold turkey sandwiches after Thanksgiving, right? That's what I used to love. My grandmother used to make the absolute best rolls I've ever had, and put a slice of turkey in between those rolls and sit around and watch football games. I mean, that's what more could you do with life? Life couldn't get any better than that, right?
Oh yeah, leftovers.
See, you people in the UK and in New Zealand, that's a North American thing. We hope you have some sort of festival to celebrate the harvest and enjoy some good meals and family. That's what Thanksgiving is to us, a chance to give thanks for some really good times. That's our show for this week, the Racing Insiders, our holiday edition. We'll welcome you. Want you to come back next week. We'll have a lot more from this race in Bahrain and in Canada. I'm Bill Wood for Jeff Lepper in Folsom, California. Take care of each other and respect each other as we open the holiday season. Want to see you again next week. Peace.
Go on a high-speed ride with the Racing Insiders, the world's only weekly look at sports car racing. The biggest names, the biggest events, the biggest headlines, every week on the Racing Insiders. From a modest start, the Racing Insiders has grown into a global presence through passion, hard work, aggressive drive, an award-winning host, and the greatest minds in sports car racing. Now, the Racing Insiders is expanding, and you can get on board. Take part in our funding effort at Indiegogo. Valuable rewards from our partners are there for your support at Indiegogo.com. The Racing Insiders. Consider an investment in exclusive sports car racing excitement every week. Get behind the wheel, drive exclusive racing content you want and can't find anywhere else. The Racing Insiders. Make an investment in your passion.